Good afternoon. It is once again 6:30 on a Friday, and this is your host for the next 25 minutes of Hotline 21. I am United States Representative Danny Davis. I represent the 7th Congressional District in the state of Illinois. And of course, there are 17 geographical areas in our state called congressional districts. And that's where you draw a ring or a circle or whatever it is you want to draw around 700,000 plus people. Designate that as a political subdivision, a congressional district. And then we go into Washington and try and represent the thinking of those people who voted for us. That is, the thinking of those individuals who said they thought we, using the processes that are used to make that determination, that we would go and represent the thinking of their people. Now understand that not all people think the same way. Not all people who go into a political subdivision and then go to the central body with the idea that everybody there is going to think the same way they think. We have political parties. We have influence groups. We have advocates. I always say that there are, three kind of people in the world. There are those people who make things happen. There are those who watch things happen. And then there are those who don't know what the heck is happening. And so each one of us becomes a part of some group. Another way of putting it, there are two kind of people in the world. There are those who shape and mold society, and then there are those who are shaped and molded by society. So I try to suggest, especially to young people, as they are growing up, and trying to determine what they want to be, I say to them, please try and become a molder as opposed to being content to being a moldee. I would rather try and determine what goes on than to just merely watch what goes on. And certainly I wouldn't want to be one who didn't know or did not understand what was going on. So there are many challenges facing our world today. When we turn on the television, we see people being mistreated, brutalized. We see misconduct on the part of some officials, some law enforcement officials, some other officials. We are a country of laws, and we have to comply with, adhere to, and obey or pay the consequences of what society has established as being laws. And if there are laws that we don't like, then we have the opportunity as well as the responsibility to try and change those laws. We don't like it, we don't think they're just, then we should try and change them so that they come more closely to fitting what we think. We can't just say nothing or nothing matters. I saw this little statement about a seed that was trying to determine what it was going to be. And so it said that this little superfluous seed lay on the ground, trying to figure out and determine which one of the flowers did it want to be when it came out. You see, I couldn't be a roses because roses are too red. I don't want to be a violet because violets are too blue. And of course, I'd never be a chrysanthemum. That would never do. So it lay there debating. This little superfluous seed woke up one morning and found itself to be a weed. So if none of the things that are taking place appeals to you, you may find yourself to be something or to take positions that you really don't want to take and you don't want to be, or you had not considered. Right now we have war going on in Ukraine. Russia has invaded that country. Last week or so ago, almost, we voted in the House of Representatives to send military aid dollars to 3 of our allies big time, more than $90 billion. Ukraine, to help them fend off Russia if they can. And I just hope that we haven't waited so long that the Ukrainian defenses will be able to hold and they can save their country as a democracy. And there are those who think it's all about Ukraine. Well, it really is not. It's about the alignment of democratic values. It's the alignment of countries saying, we think that people ought to live in such a way that they have something to say about the way they live, and that they don't have 2 or 3 people, or even 200 or 300 people, dictating and deciding what has to be their way of life. Democracy means something very different than that. So we gave Ukraine money. There's also tensions in the Pacific. There is the tension with Taiwan and mainland China, where these 2 entities, there are some people who believe that it's just one entity, or it should be. Obviously, there are others who believe that mainland China should be mainland China and Taiwan should be Taiwan. Separate entities, much of the same heritage, but separate entities and 2 different countries. Tensions are there. Well, we've had a great trading relationship with Taiwan, And we, as a country, would like to see them continue to function as they'd like to function and as they do function. So we gave them some money to help them maintain and be able to defend themselves in such a way that maybe the People's Republic of China will say, let's coexist here. We'll let you be who you are. We'll be who we are. And we'll get along, and life goes on. And then, of course, we have the big issue in the Middle East, the big issue in terms of the war between Hamas and Israel. Big difference in a way. Israel is a country, a nation. Hamas is part of a country of interest, country of heritage, and there has been conflict in the region since the designation of each. Both lay claim to the land. Both maintain that the land is a part of their heritage. And so war, Hamas is a terrorist group by designation from many sources and other countries and countries. But they have the hearts of many Palestinians who are not necessarily at that point in terms of how they feel and what they feel, but they feel that they are much more closely aligned with that group, certainly than they are with the state of Israel. The United States has been closely allied with Israel ever since there has been an Israel. And many people in our country feel that we have given, and I say we, I mean our country, too much latitude, that we've caved in too often to the hard right in terms of the way of thinking that some Israeli leadership and many Israelis themselves believe of how you deal with the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. And so many people feel that Israel has acted in many ways at many different times beyond what would be necessary to defend themselves. Right now, college students all over America are demonstrating and protesting and saying that the world theater, the world stage, is too closely allied with and aligned with the Israeli treatment of Palestinians in the area. There are people, large numbers of people, advocating that since the leadership there from Israel will not change its approach, will not come to the table and negotiate in a serious way, that maybe the United States should not be contributing as much of our tax money as we contribute. President Biden has used, I think, all of the diplomatic skill that he and his Secretary of State and other diplomatic envoys have been able to muster to try and move Israel to a more conciliatory position. It does not seem that it has had the impact yet that hopefully it will have. Nor does it seem that Israel is prepared to exercise as much humaneness in terms of the flow of humanitarian aid and trying to do as much as one could do to facilitate the entrance, the bringing in of medical supplies, equipment, food, and other essential needs. So we got ourselves some heavy drama, big wars going on all at the same time. While back at the ranch, back at home, back under the viaduct, there are homeless people with no safe, secure, decent place to live. We have children who are hungry and don't have food. We have families who are without decent food, shelter, or clothing. We have sick people with no medicine. We have people in need of surgery but can't get it. So all of these conditions exist, and the question looms in front of us all the time: what do we do? I take the position that I am not all people, but I am one. And of course, I cannot do all things, but I can do some, meaning that each one of us can take that position, that we can't do everything that needs to be done. In many instances, we might not even be able to influence what gets done in a serious way. But one thing that we can do is try. We can try. We can try and make the best decisions that we can make. We can try and take the best positions that we can take. We can try and help somebody as we pass along. People often quote Dr. King as a kind of messenger, as a teacher, as a one who points the way. And of course, one of Dr. King's favorite songs was this song, "If I Can Help Somebody as I Pass Along, if I can cheer somebody with a word or song, if I can steer somebody right who might be traveling wrong, then my living will not be in vain." And so we can all do something. We can give a little bit, but we can give a little bit more. We can give a little bit and then be satisfied to a degree. And we can say, if when you give the best of your service, telling the world that the Savior is come, be not dismayed when men don't believe you. Pick up the cross and run swiftly to him. He'll understand and say, "Well done." And so, when I come to the end of my journey, telling the world, so you can try to do your little bit. You know, I get these messages on my telephone where political groups are asking people to send money. And they will say, send $1, send $5. And I know that there are people who think $1, what can $1 do? Well, $1 can help make $2. $2 added to $2 makes $4. $4 added to $4 makes $8, then 16, then 32, then 64. And it just keeps piling and piling and piling up. And as it continues to pile up, the little becomes much when you put it in the master's touch. And so if you give, somebody else give, somebody else give, somebody else give, ultimately, you've got much more than you started out with. And so if you approach life that way and not think that you're defeated, not think that you whatever, but know that you can overcome any obstacle. And you can say, don't move my mountain. Just give me the strength to climb. Don't take away the stumbling block. Just lead me all around. And if you take that approach, I guarantee that you will overcome whatever barriers that may be blocking your path. My time is about to end. It's really been a pleasure talking with you for these 25 minutes. The blues singers say they call it Stormy Monday. Tuesday is just as bad. Wednesday's a little worse, and Thursday is also sad. But the eagle flies on Friday, and Saturday I go out to play. Sunday I go to church and kneel down on my knees and pray. I pray that you have a wonderful weekend. It's been a pleasure being with you, and I will see you next week. Good night.